Well, it was a big win for us on Sunday, and it was a step in the right direction. I think we're all excited about coming in finally on Monday, on a victory Monday, and having something positive to talk about. Obviously, there's still a lot of work to be done. We made corrections like we have over the last so many weeks, and I definitely think this team's going the right direction. We have a lot to build off of now, and we also have a great challenge coming up going into Indy this week against a good team. And every time you go to Indy, you know, you've got to be aware of those defensive ends because they're great players on the defensive side of the ball. So we're excited about the challenge again.
You guys were able to neutralize Minnesota from doing too much damage with their defensive line. Mm-hmm. Is this something similar that, you know, when you look at the defensive ends on this team and what you prepared for last week?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the two teams and how they actually try to schematically come after you, and they try to create pressure with those front four, and this is a team that does much of the same with Freeney and Mathis, and those guys are two of the best in the game at what they do. So again, that offensive line did such an outstanding job last week of really being able to block those guys, give me time to throw, and I'm sure that they'll be up for the challenge again this week.
Matt, the offense has been successful. It's looked its best when you guys have opened it up, and it happened in the second half of the San Diego game, and then it happened after the incident with you and Coach on the sideline in the Minnesota game. Why has it taken you guys a while to open up the offense?
You know, that's a good question. I think it's probably a better question for Coach. But at the same time, there's a game plan going into every game, and we stick to the game plan, and it just happens to be that, you know, we get a few more throws going into the second half, and it's worked out well for us, so hopefully we can continue that success.
Was that your message when you guys were talking that you wanted it to get opened up more?
You're talking specifically
in the Minnesota game, because I mean before you guys talked on the sideline,
mm-hmm.
you had thrown the ball 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
After it, you threw it 22 times.
Right.
I'm assuming it's not a coincidence.
Well, you know, honestly, the incident was just the incident. It had nothing to do with opening up or doing anything like that. And it's something that happens in football where it's two emotional people that want to win. But we talked nothing about scheme or anything. It just happened to go that way when we got into the second half.
And then some of the guys talked about you being very vocal in the locker room at halftime. Can you just give us a little insight why you felt the need to say what you did and maybe what you said?
Well, I won't go into great detail, but you know, I believe in these guys, and I think that, you know, we have a great team here and a great foundation, and it's just about sometimes getting fired up and letting these guys know that you believe in them, and let's go out and let's compete, and that's really all it came down to.
Now, Jonathan Baldwin may or may not play this weekend, but do you see that he's ready to add another element to the offense?
We'd like to think so. You know, he's a guy that's been working very hard over these last few weeks, and he was out there today, and he was practicing, and hopefully he's a guy that'll come in and be able to contribute. Again, that's a decision that's probably more up to coach than anybody else, and to see how far along he can come this week.
But you know him a little bit because he stayed with you during the lockout and stuff. Does he have like some of the, we don't know him yet because we haven't seen him play. Does he have that like mental toughness that you are going to, once you two work together, feel like you're going to be able to throw to him and he's going to be able to make some of those catches because you're on the same page? Have you gotten to know him in a way of the way he approaches football?
Well, that's a great question. You know, I think I'm still getting to know John because we haven't spent much time out on the field together, and while I know him and I've seen a little bit of him, obviously he's physically impressive. There's no doubt about that. Now, once we get out there and we start playing, you know, you just hope to build that rapport and chemistry, and I think that takes a little bit of time.
How much was, you know, when things aren't going well, and everybody always says the same thing, well, we just got to work harder. So everybody puts their head down and works harder, and then they're talking worried about making a mistake. And how much of what you had to say at halftime was simply, forget about all that stuff, play?
You know, that's sometimes just what this game is. It's about going out there and playing and competing and doing what we do so well. And sometimes you overthink it, and as players, sometimes you just need to get back to the foundation, the basics of the game, and go out there and compete and just make plays. And that's what we did in the second half. We did a great job of that. You could see it in the receivers. They made a ton of great plays out there, and hopefully that trend continues.
Matt, obviously there was some frustration over the first 3 weeks. Does it feel like maybe there's a little weight off your shoulders now? It's a little bit different atmosphere this week than it was maybe the previous 2 or so?
Right. Well, it feels good to get a win. There's no doubt about that. It definitely feels different than what it's been, and it's always tough because you work so hard during the week to get prepared for Sunday, and that's your day to go out there and compete. And when it doesn't go the way, whether you lose by 30 or you lose by 3, it hurts. But when you get that feeling of victory, it feels good for everybody inside. It actually lets you know why you play this game, and hopefully that motivates us to go out there and continue to work hard and do the things that we need to do to be successful.
You guys took a great advantage of Jared Allen's enthusiasm to rush the passer and sent a lot of your running game behind him as he went wide.
Mm-hmm.
Now that that's on film, I wouldn't expect that. I would expect Indianapolis to expect the same thing. So how do you counter that?
I think football's a chess match, and so every time you go in there, you watch some film, you see what they're doing, they see what you're doing, and the coaches have the mastermind. They come up with a plan, and then you try to go in there and execute it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Matt, do you feel like you're at your best when you want to prove something? Like, I go back to last year after the appendectomy, and, you proving you could play when other people said you should sit out another week, and, just whatever happened last weekend. Do you feel sometimes that's the button you were talking about in your post-game news conference when you said sometimes coach knows how to push your buttons? Do you feel like when you want to prove something, that puts you in another gear?
Well, I think as a competitor and as a player, I think you better be able to motivate yourself each and every week. And for me, there's nobody that motivates me more than myself. And, it's the motivation to do well for this team, this organization, for the fans, for everybody else. I'm a motivated person, and I wouldn't be in this position if I wasn't. And so I get fired up and motivated, and it doesn't take much. And so, but I enjoy the competition, and I like to go out there and compete.
You said this stuff about the emotion and said the right things and everything, but that can't happen too often, can it? I mean, it has to be pretty isolated, doesn't it, in those exchanges, or it almost has to be a negative? Doesn't it have to be pretty isolated with the coach?
Absolutely. It's something that doesn't come up much, and you don't see it a lot, and it was just one of those things that happen during football games where emotions run high, and again, it goes back to two people wanting to win, and sometimes, your emotions get the best of you, but the best part about it is you move right on. And he came over, sat next to me 5 minutes later, and we moved forward, and we had a great second half. So and nothing else has been made of it here in this building, and we move forward.
Do you feel this team wants to win, and not, just that they know what to do? So many players have been hurt, so many setbacks of adversity like that, not the off-season workouts you guys are used to. Do you feel it's just taken a while for them to know how to put in place without all of these key players? Has it just taken a while, and what you see in them is starting to come out that you knew was there, but it wasn't showing for a while?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, it's taken a little bit longer than we anticipated. We didn't want to start the way that we did, but we are where we are right now. And after getting that victory, it was a great victory, but our main focus now just turns to Indy, and hopefully we can continue a level of success as we move forward. And it's going to be a big game going into Indy, and hopefully we can get another win.
Are you as hungry for number 2 win as you were for number 1 win?
Oh, absolutely, probably more. Now that we've had a taste of victory, it feels good, and I think everybody in there doesn't want to lose that feeling.